My brother-in-law enjoys being a jerk and insulting others, saying he's just being honest, but now he's crying wolf after he got verbally slapped out of all our family outings by my wife. Posted by you/thrower_annoyingbull. This is a throwaway account, as I have work colleagues on my main account that I don't want knowing about my family drama, and the spelling will be rubbish because I'm fuming right now. Obligatory note, all names have been changed. So, for the backstory, I, 36F, am married to the love of my life, K, 36F. We met when we were 17. She was out and proud, while I was still in the closet, so we didn't start dating until I came out at 21. We got married in 2019 and have an adopted 4-year-old son, Jack. This becomes relevant in a minute. My sister, Sarah, 27F, has a long-term boyfriend, Steve, 28M, who the family cannot stand. They've been together for 8 years, and the whole family has hated him from the first time we met him. He is rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and an all-around crappy human being. He's the type who claims he's just honest, but if someone is honest back to him, he flips out and sulks like a toddler. In fact, my toddler is better behaved than he is. He isn't abusive to Sarah and doesn't direct these comments toward her, it's just the rest of us. He's actually a good partner to her and treats her well, which is his one redeeming quality. My dad and Kay hate him the most and will do anything to avoid him at family gatherings. Kay usually just ignores him and brushes off anything he says to her, as she doesn't like conflict. However, there have been a few occasions when she's said something back, but it's usually in a joking manner, which amuses my dad to no end. My mom is a peacemaker and will do anything to avoid drama, so she just changes the topic whenever he starts. But she and my grandparents all hate him just as much as the rest of us. Sarah is the only one who obviously doesn't hate him. Our son's birth mother, Tess, was Kay's best friend, who sadly died in 2021. This was a real shock, as she had an underlying heart condition that she didn't know about. She simply went to sleep one night and never woke up. Jack had been left alone in his cot all day, screaming for his mum, before Kay got worried that Tess wasn't answering her texts, and went to their house to check on her. She found Jack in his cot and Tess in her bed. We adopted Jack because no one in Tess's family was in a position to take him in. We raise him as our own, but he knows who Tess is. Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic for Kay, as it was so traumatic for her and Jack. Now, onto what happened last weekend. It was the anniversary of Tess's death on Saturday, so Kay, Jack, and I went to visit her grave. Kay is always quiet after visiting her, and this time of year is especially hard for her. On Sunday, we had a family gathering at my parents' house. These happen every couple of months as a way for everyone to catch up. At first, nothing was out of the ordinary. Kay and my dad were off to the side talking as usual, though I could see that Kay was obviously struggling. My dad and she went for a walk so she could clear her head, something they've done before, so nothing unusual. However, Steve had an issue with this and asked why they had left and why he wasn't invited to walk with them. I explained about Tess and said Kay just needed a minute. This wasn't good enough for Steve, though, and he said she should have gotten over it by now. At this, my granddad, who is naturally a very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago, and he still had days when he missed him so much it hurt. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shut up after that. Kay and my dad came back, and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch and started chatting. Everything was fine at first until Steve started trying to intrude into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullcrap. She's getting all the attention from everyone because her friend died 3 effing years ago. Get over it, for F's sake. We're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent, and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve. Only it didn't happen the way I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that she and Granddad weren't talking about Tess, they were making plans to take him to the Christmas markets, but if he wanted to be a prick, then no problem. She then went on to tell him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic, narcissistic prick. That whenever he can't come to a family gathering, the whole family is much happier. That there's a reason he has no friends and that even his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out, and Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she made a bigger impact on people than he would if he lived until he was 150. That her funeral was packed with people because she was so loved, whereas he'd be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden, and I followed her. A few minutes later, my dad came out and said that he'd told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside, and Kay apologized to everyone, saying she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone other than my mum told her what she'd done was right and that it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian had been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick Jack up from Kay's mum's house, as she'd had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday, I got a call from Sarah saying that she and Steve wanted an apology from Kay or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her that we wouldn't be at Christmas either, as it's our year to spend it with Kay's mum, so it made no difference to us, she got really upset. She said she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said she wasn't and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize because I agreed with everything she said, and so did everyone else there. She ended the call, and I just went back to work. Then today, my dad called me and asked if Kay's mum would mind a few more for Christmas, as he was refusing to spend it with Steve. So, he and my granddad needed somewhere else to go. Apparently, after Sarah had called me, she called Mum and started ranting. My mum told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which he refused, and they had an argument. My dad has now decided he's done with Steve, even if it affects his relationship with Sarah. He's not having it anymore. My mum wants Sarah there, but Sarah won't come without Steve, so my dad is going somewhere else, and my granddad agreed with him. I texted Kay's mum, and she said they were welcome, so now my mum is furious and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So, basically, this has turned into a crap show. Kay has said she will apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace, but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here. The people in my life all hate Steve so much that Kay could have physically attacked him, and they'd still think she was in the right. So, that's why I'm asking internet strangers who might have dealt with difficult family members, what can we do to get to a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. Wow, I didn't realize how long this got until I went to post it. Sorry about that. Up in the comments. If it were just Sarah upset, I wouldn't care, but it's my mum. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together, and she is devastated by what's going on. One of her favorite things to say is take the high road and rise above it. I just feel like enough is enough. Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I'm sick of the high road, I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now. Update 8 days later. Hi, I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought I would give you one as things seem to be sorting themselves out, kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened over the next couple of hours. The first thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mum's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mum and just constantly try to keep the peace, that's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mum this year, but they changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They have made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come and see us and Jack on the 23rd before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me and outright shocked my mum because, as I said, they are the biggest take the high road type of people I've ever met, but even they'd had enough. The next thing that happened was my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided they want Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit she was lying, and that the family loves Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional, so any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from after-school club with a recorder that I am sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So, all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve has been trying to push Kay and me out of the family. He's been organizing trips that he knows we wouldn't be able to go on. We wouldn't have gone anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball. He's also constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we're all together. I think this is because he's jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they're very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mum, Dad, Granddad, and Kay's mum. We decided to cheer my mum up a bit by going on Sunday and then going out for dinner after. My mum was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first but settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mum and Dad to take him on the giant snow slide. As my mum walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pulled her to one side to see what was going on, and she said that while waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mum asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mum tried to say he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he argued and said he'd learned in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve says mean things all the time, so he's a bad man, and he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mum. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack, or Kay through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants, not what I want, or Dad, or Kay, or Jack, or her parents, or Sarah, or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet and then said that Kay's mom had told her she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mom would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later, I saw Mom and Kay's mom having a deep discussion while walking behind us. Neither will say what they talked about, but Mom seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since, as yesterday my mom told me that she will be coming to Kay's mom's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mom told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said Mom was choosing us over her. My mom told her she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable, all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I'd won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs toward me and Kay and called Jack the product of a WH-re. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what had happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They're all as appalled as I am, and Mike Annie, Mom's mom, called Sarah and apparently told her she was dead to her, as she won't have a bigot in the family. Sarah has been trying to reach out to apologize because she knows she has stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts she's been making on Instagram. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mom, Dad ended up giving him a verbal lashing and told him he was the worst thing that had ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad has told Sarah he is disgusted with her but will be there for her if she leaves Steve. Until then, good luck. Mom has gone low contact as well but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive toward Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a prick when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says obnoxious things, all the attention is on him, and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I just think they're both toxic and feed off each other's toxicity. She lets him get away with the things he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So, Mom's angry, Dad's angry, our 3 grandparents are angry, and the extended family is angry. Kay is being my rock, but I can tell she's really angry about what Sarah said toward Jack. I'm just sad and done with it all. At least now I know what she really thinks about Jack, Kay, and me, so there's that. Not the perfect update, but we move on. It will be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time and not have to worry about Steve being a jerk, but I'm sad that this is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that make me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing, like seriously, screw you. Thanks for all the support in my original post and for opening my eyes to a few things. Maybe internet strangers are the way to go for advice after all. Hope you all have a good Christmas/holidays. Second update 1 month later. Hi all, relationship_advice only allows for one update, so I thought I'd post this here as I've still got people reaching out for an update about Christmas. This might be a bit anticlimactic, but nothing much has happened. Sarah stopped trying to reach out to me during the first week of December after one final message through a mutual friend, saying that she loves me and sorry. My dad spoke to her once on Christmas Eve to wish her, and her alone, a Merry Christmas. My mom has spoken to her a few times and even had breakfast with her on Christmas Eve, but that's it. As far as I'm aware, Steve and Sarah spent Christmas at their house alone. I do know they went to a party on Boxing Day with one of Sarah's friends, and Steve was on his best behavior, according to someone I know who was there. Maybe he's learning, who knows? I did have a few people asking about why Steve and his family don't speak. After talking to my dad, I found out that Steve said something to his brother's wife at a family gathering, which led to his brother and him having a huge argument that turned physical. After that, Steve's brother refused to have him around himself, his wife, or his kids, so Steve's mom and dad told him he wasn't welcome at family events anymore. They went very low contact with him. Apparently, he gets a phone call on his birthday and Christmas, but that's about it. My dad was told this by Sarah, who was there when it happened. As per usual, she tried to downplay the whole thing and say that Steve's family was overreacting. Sounds oddly familiar. We spent Christmas at Kay's mom's house, and my mom, dad, and granddad all came as well. My mom and Kay's mom haven't ever really spent a lot of time together, but they have been recently, and they've become good friends, meeting up for lunch and going shopping together a few times. It's a bit of an odd pairing, as my mum is very straight-laced, and Kay's mum was a punk when she was younger and is now really into Wicca and natural healing. Seeing my mum dressed in her Sunday best and Kay's mum in her Sex Pistols hoodie is an odd sight, but they get along great, so that's nice. Christmas overall was good, nothing special, just relaxing. Without Steve being around, there was no need to be on edge. Jack was very spoiled and loved every second of it. I'll be honest and say I miss my sister a lot, and part of me really wanted to call her on Christmas Day, but I know I can't have her in my life right now. That's about it, really, all very boring. I still want to launch Jack's recorder into the sun, but he loves it, and his rendition of London's Burning is improving. Listening to 26 4 and 5-year-olds enthusiastically try to play London's Burning on recorders at the Christmas nativity play was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That got the biggest cheer of the night, that's for sure. I hope everyone had great holidays and has a brilliant new year. Commenter. This is not a recommendation, however, a dog can really do a number on a recorder. Great chew toy, just saying. Ops response. Funny you should say that. We have been offered a rescue puppy that will be ready in a few weeks, so if we get one, he or she could solve our problems.